everybody.
You can bring the volume down just a little bit.
I like your background, Joy.
Thank you, Miss Valerie.
Oh, that's one of my favorite words.
Mm.
Can you guys hear us? Thank you, Miss Medea. Whoever.
Recording in progress.
You can just mute.
Yeah, mute.
And mute and put your volume.
No, mute your computer.
You won't need it at all.
Miss Brown, you're muted also. There you go.
You muted now? All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for attending our education meeting tonight for the William Penn School District. Tonight, we are going to talk about opening of schools. That will be presented by Dr. B. Coates. Also, we will be discussing student instructional technology access. That will be discussed by Mr. Edward Dunn. We also will be discussing Future Ready, the comprehensive plan. That will be presented by Ms. Tara Brown. And then I will be closing the meeting after that. I will be asking for any questions or comments that also may not be agenda related or agenda related as well. We always like to start off the meeting with a quote. So the quote I have for you tonight is, "Learning is not the product of teaching. Learning is the product of the activity of learners." And that's by John Hall. So we are back in school. I'm really excited. I had the opportunity to visit a few schools on our first day back. I was at the high school. I was at the Green Avenue campus and also Cypress, and had also the opportunity to visit Colwyn Elementary. I was very happy to see just the way all the energy, the positive energy from the parents, the students, everyone seemed to be very happy to be back. At high school, we do know it was very congested. And definitely I want everyone to know all your questions, concerns, over this weekend. I have received a lot. We have already put them to our administration and talked to our administration. And today you'll be hearing somewhat about our resolutions to those things. So I just ask that if you let the agenda flow, and hopefully all your questions and comments will be answered within our meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. B. Coates.
Good evening, everyone. This evening I will be providing an update on several items. I think you should be able to see that I am sharing my screen. And so you should see in front of you, I believe.
Not anymore. We did in the beginning, and then now it's gone.
Hold on one second.
Got it, Dr. B.
All right, there we are. Thank you very much, Ms. Hopkins. I appreciate that. So let me go ahead on and get us started. Our chairwoman outlined the items that we would highlight this evening. So I just want to share a couple of items. As most of you know, we did open on Wednesday, September the 8th. Overall, I believe we had a successful opening. And with any school opening, you always have items that you have to address, things you have to go back and revisit. And there were several of them, and I'm going to highlight some of them as we go throughout the presentation. I do want to share with you that as of today, our enrollment is 4,808 students. You can see the breakdown of that enrollment by elementary, middle, and high school students, and that includes both campuses for the high school. We continue to have families come and register their students in our district, although it is after school has actually started. I'm also pleased to share with you that in our personalized learning community, we have approximately 192 students, and you can see the breakdown of those students by grade level as well. As a reminder, we are having our second dose or second shot, if you will, for our back to school event. That will be on September the 21st at Kenwood Middle School. And the hours will be as they were on the first one from 4 until 7 o'clock p.m. on September the 21st. The next item I want to address is one-to-one student access. Most of you are aware that last year, the district made a significant investment in Chromebooks, and we wanted to ensure that we allowed all students access to Chromebooks again this school year. I do want to encourage our public and our families, if you have not returned your Chromebook, I am respectfully asking you again to please return your Chromebook. That information was presented to our community, and I do know that schools reached out to families asking them to return Chromebooks at the end of June. The return of Chromebooks allows the district to assess the number of Chromebooks that we have remaining, and then we determine where we need to fill gaps, if you will, based upon the number of students who are currently enrolled in a school building. I will share with you that this week, all schools should be, if they have not already, provided access to Chromebooks for students. I will share with you that there was a little delay in some places as it relates to providing additional Chromebooks. And that was primarily because we want to first verify that we have taken an accurate accounting of all of our Chromebooks, meaning those that may have been broken, lost, or not returned. That process should be completed by this Friday, and all students will have access to, or continue to have access to, Chromebooks. It is our intent to continue to allow students to take Chromebooks home. However, this is what I will say. If you received a Chromebook last year and you have not returned your Chromebook, we will not be allowing you to take another Chromebook home this school year. We have to be accountable for the resources that we have. Most of you know that we are not a district that has an enormous amount of resources. So we need to be very mindful of how we're utilizing our resources and how we are utilizing our Chromebooks. The other thing I will share with you as it relates to the opening of schools that's associated with Chromebooks is that over the last 2 months, we have been spending a significant amount of time ensuring that our math and our ELA and our science curriculum is integrated with eSchool. eSchool is the system where all of our student information is housed. So we wanted to ensure that that integration took place. When we started this process in July, the expectation was that it would be completed by the first day of school, actually before we provided professional development for teachers. As we continued to work throughout this process, it was indicated to us that we would not be able to meet the deadline, although that was what was expected. Nevertheless, we were fortunate enough to have provided curriculum to all teachers at the end of last year, and it was a demo account that was provided to all teachers last year. And that basically allowed teachers to begin to, if you will, explore the use of the curriculum. And access to the curriculum was still available throughout this year, and it is available right now. Later this evening, Mr. Dunn will provide a highlight on a tool that we are utilizing as it relates to technology that definitely is moving us in the right direction as it relates to up-to-date use of technology in support of our students and the instructional program. I will share with you that it is always our goal to meet deadlines and ensure that our students have what is needed on day one. But like any other school year, there are some times when you have instances in which some things may be a day or 2 days late. However, we also encourage schools, all of our schools, to make sure that we supported families and students through our social and emotional learning. And we did review our instructional planning guide, which outlines for all of our schools the information that needs to be taught to students within the first quarter. Upon further review of that information, it was definitely determined that the instruction was able to continue or should be able to continue without necessarily having a Chromebook in place. So we are assured of that. While it may be a little bit more difficult, initially, we do know that it was able to be implemented, and within the next 4 to 5 days, we will be up and running at 100% with all scenarios in place or technology in place. I will share with you that I did have an opportunity to visit the high school today, and I did actually talk with the teacher about the use of technology. And he said to me, you know, it's a little bit more challenging without the technology right now. He said, but I'm making do. He said, and I'm just, making some copies and things of that nature. And I did assure him that we would be moving forward and having the necessary tools and resources in place. So I did want to share that information with the board as it relates to the opening of schools. I also want to just share with the board, you all may remember this project progress tracker. This tracker was designed to allow us to keep track of where we are in various aspects of opening of schools. So we begin with staffing. I will tell you that we are still hiring, and we do have some vacancies that we're still trying to fill in the area of special ed, and we also have some in math as well as in ELA. And so we're continuing to work with schools. I want to applaud our principals for being able to address vacancies and work with the subs that are currently in place to continue to support our students. All of our buildings have met the standard, if you will, for facilities, and as additional issues come up, we definitely address them on an as needed basis. As it relates to curriculum, materials are in schools. Most of those materials were provided over the summer. Some materials have come in recently, and we are ensuring that schools have what they need to continue to support the instructional program. I will say with transportation, we do have some shortages in that area, and I would say that that's not something that's unique to William Penn. In our meeting today with superintendents, most districts were talking about the challenge that they have with filling vacancies in the transportation area. So we are continuing to make that work. I ask families to please be patient as we continue to make modifications to bus schedules to ensure that all children arrive at school and get home safely. Back to school communications, that's all has been done. Schools should have in place now their code of student conduct booklets. And I know that several schools hosted back to school nights tonight. Some of them have them tonight. And from the information I'm getting from principals is that the back to school nights have been successful thus far. And we're hopeful that all families will be able to participate in the back to school nights that are being offered by our local schools. So that's information on the progress tracker that we have. And unfortunately, we're still dealing with COVID-19. And so one of the things that we are putting into place and have into place our health and safety plan, and just wanted to remind the board that we're continuing to work on these items and move these items forward. We're continuing to remind individuals about safety. In some schools, we are making modifications or adjustments to how we do things and how space is utilized in our school buildings. I do want to share with you all, this is a tracker that is actually on our website, and it provides for you the COVID cases that we've had. Obviously, it's no identifying information here, but last year this was something that we had in place, and we're continuing to provide this information as well. So I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of what we're doing in reference to COVID. And as I continue to get updates and as we get new updates, we will continue to ensure that we update the board accordingly. And now we're going to move to student instructional technology access, and I will guide this from Mr. Dunn.
Good evening, everyone. This school year, we've launched, as Dr. B. Coates mentioned, the integration between our eSchool, which is our platform for student information, with our curriculum resources. As we adopted a lot of new curriculums this past year, we knew, especially given COVID and quarantine, that we needed to prioritize access to digital curriculum resources. And to make this process simpler for teachers, we wanted to utilize a tool called single sign-on. And so what that allows for teachers to do is that they no longer have to be personally responsible for creating classes, registering students, and making sure that students have to manage multiple accounts to get access to digital resources. What a single sign-on portal allows students to do is to have one username, one password to unlock any apps on any device for teachers, for students, primarily teachers and staff. And so that is the platform that we've launched over the last week or so. And so as we move forward, we're going to build more and more integrations in there to make sure that we make this as simple as possible for all stakeholders. So let's talk a little bit about what Clever is and what are the features that it provides for us as a district. So the first one is that students find everything they need in one place. So not only is it a single sign-on, but it'll launch a portal for them that will have a set of buttons of applications that they can select that will directly guide them through to the tool that they need. So the teacher pages show just the right resources. And so what that means is that we can customize those resources both for students and for teachers, so that our high school students only see high school resources, our elementary schools only see elementary resources, and so forth and so on. So it is only what they need as opposed to everything. So staff have the same great experience. So as we expand this into the future, we also want to create this access for our staff that may be non-instructional or support staff or leadership, so that they can also get access to resources, whether it's our Google Suite or to some of the other features and applications that they utilize on a district level. We also have the ability to understand student engagement with EdTech. So because of the Clever single sign-on access, what we're then able to do is track the analysis of the usage of our different tools. So we can see what are the most commonly used tools, what tools are being underutilized, potentially say, okay, maybe we need to offer some more professional development and supports around particular things because now we have a tool to access them. That wasn't possible before in the future, because when things were locally rostered and created centrally, we cannot support them because we didn't have access to that data. Now we can make better decisions about how we allocate resources as a result of this tool. One of the awesome things about the integration between Clever and our eSchool is it allows us to have real-time roster updates. So as students are added to our district and they are created emails and usernames, that information will automatically be added to teachers' accounts. So about 24 hours after that information is added to eSchool, then students will then have access to the digital resources for that class that are customized to their grade and to the classes that they're enrolled in. And the last part about it, that is probably one of the biggest components, is that this is free for school districts. The way that Clever works is they charge and partner with our vendors to create access to rostering these things. So it becomes free for us, and our business model is around partnering and charging our vendors. So one of the great things about this, outside of the free part, is that a lot of our new platforms, the only way to automate this process was through Clever, because that was the company that they had partnerships with. And Clever is essentially the industry standard for this model. So we are partnering with something that is fairly common across the country. And so that allowed us to have integrations with the vast majority of our vendor partners. So what we're going to do, we've launched this to teachers this week, and teachers are going to begin to get students on it. I got a chance to visit a couple of schools today and got a chance to see teachers actually using digital resources from one of our elementary schools. They were using our Envisions math program, which is a new adoption, and got a chance to see her a few teachers interacting with their students using the platform. So it's good to know that folks are getting started. We have also, to support this lift, share some information with teachers of how to access the portal, and we set up a process for them to submit requests for support through our help desk, and all those things will be funneled. If the help desk can help them, they'll support them. If it's a more of a curriculum specific question, they'll filter that information to our department, or if there's a rostering issue, they'll filter that through, but it creates a one-stop shop for teachers to get support. And we will also be offering drop-in time for teachers that want to start accessing some more of the premium features, whether it be customizing their own links to add additional resources, or to kind of get into the more finer details. We'll be offering those supports as well, so that a teacher can get even deeper into this experience. So what we're going to do now to model what this looks like, get you guys a chance to share my screen and show you what the Clever experience looks like from a teacher or a student. So on your screen, you can see what a Clever dashboard looks like. So teachers and students will see something fairly similar to this. I have an administrative account, so it looks a little bit different in terms of the layout, but for the most part, it's the same experience. So you can see that the portal is organized into categories. The first one is the core learning applications. And so core learning applications really refer to the things that students would be using on a daily basis to access ELA, science, math, obviously. And you can even see some other programs on here for Second Step, which is a social and emotional learning piece, Nearpod, which is another tool for teachers to engage students digitally, as well as Edulastic, which is one of our newer adoptions at the high school for testing and for testing and assessment. In the second section, you'll see that there will also be added places for our Google Suite that we support as a district, as well as some district links that we've added so that teachers can find these things fairly easily. Once again, depending on the user, the buttons that they will have access to will change to what's most relevant to them. So to give you an idea of what this will look like, a student will log in, they now have access to their Clever dashboard, and they will click on one of our apps. Dreambox is one of our math interventions for K-6. And because Clever is integrated, or Dreambox is integrated into Clever, it'll automatically give them access to the application, and then they can use it just like they would have otherwise, without them having to re-sign in to a different website. So for the most part, that is how the platform works. Like Dr. Biko said, we're launching all these things, and so if folks need any support with this or have any questions, they definitely can submit to our service desk. And we expect to get even better and better with fine tuning this so that it's a flawless, streamlined process for all of our students, teachers, and staff. And I think that this is going to really be able to revolutionize the way that we're able to use digital resources as a district.
Thank you. Could you stop share for a second and then we'll continue with the presentation? Thank you. So next we will go to our Future Ready Comprehensive School Plan timeline, and Tyra Brown will walk us through this.
Good evening. Our timeline for our Future Ready Comprehensive School Plans have begun. Our 8 elementary schools are already working on their plans. They have weekly check-ins with me in the curriculum office. And as you see on the timeline, you can see when the dates are for each week. We're offering these sessions. The Board of Directors will have access to review the documents on October 8th. Presentations for the Board of Directors will be done on the week of, or the day of October 13th. And then we're asking the board to take action on November 10th.
Okay. Madam Chair, that concludes our presentation for tonight on those 3 items, and we will address any questions or comments that you may have.
Okay, so first I would like to open it up to the board members for any questions that you might have on any of the agenda items. You don't have to raise your hand every time if you want to go through each question. All right, so we'll start with Jen.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dunn, PD for Clever for all staff. When does that take place? I know they can send in, you know, a question to the help desk and stuff like that, but will we be doing PD on it?
Yeah, definitely. We'll begin by offering some PD, some drop-in sessions as early as next week. Okay. For teachers that need some support, get up and running. It's fairly intuitive, but you know, everybody may, you know, be approaching the technology at different places. So we do want to offer some hands-on support.
Great, thank you. That's all from me.
Okay. Ms. Llewellyn?
I just want to say thanks to Dr. Vitas for the clarity on the Chromebooks, because you know it was going back and forth. I heard that every kid was promising every Chromebook, but they don't have one. So I'm just glad you cleared that up for everybody.
Thank you.
One thing I also wanted just to piggyback and say that for the opening of schools, my comment is that thank you very much for just being reactive. You know, we hadn't been in school for a whole week, and we definitely received feedback, and we've taken that feedback, and it's our job to digest it and make the most appropriate or corrective actions. And I feel like as a school district, we are doing that. And I just want to say thank you for, you know, just having that ear and listening to any comments that may have came from the community, school board directors or teachers. But I just want to say thank you for that, for paying attention to it and understanding how important the one-to-one is for the Williamson School District. And that was a stepping stone for us. So just thank you once again. The other question, there was a question in the comment section. I'm going to get to that. I just wanted to address. But before I go there, I just wanted to say to Mr. Dunn, thank you for the clever initiative, because one thing I do think about, which is very great about that, it stops kids from wandering all over the net, kind of. Even though they can click on a separate tab, but you have the apps right in front of them, so they can like skip from app to app versus having to open a tab up and going to the next page, which kind of helps them to try to stay focused. Even though our kids are very smart, they'll jump from tab to tab, but I do like that how we have that separated. So thank you for that initiative. The one question I felt was definitely pertinent to ask, so we can just have it on record so everyone could hear. The question was, when do we anticipate to be fully one-on-one and allow students to take Chromebooks home?
I would project that students would be able to take Chromebooks home in the month of October. And I say that because we need to also review our policy on Chromebooks being taken home. This year is a little different in that school is in session in a building versus last year everyone was home. And so that is our goal. One of the things I will share with you is that I shared with you some of the COVID cases. And with those students who are going home or being quarantined, we do have some students where that's the case. We are making sure, one, that those students have work to complete while they're home. And in some instances, those students do have Chromebooks at home because, again, it's no fault of their own that they're home. So we wanted to make sure that they would still be able to have access to technology as well. So we have done that in those instances.
Okay. Hopefully that whoever gave that question, hopefully that was properly answered for you. Another question that was brought up was, have we considered adding more staff in each department at the high school level? Classes are overcrowded with many classes averaging around 30 students. Our classrooms are not large enough for these class sizes.
We're continuing definitely to look at that. We will be assessing enrollments in schools around the 20th day. That's a typical point in time where you assess enrollments in schools, because obviously you know that you have people coming in, going out, etc. And we will definitely address that with the high school administration. But I think that's an excellent item that's brought up. I have visited the high school almost every day since the first day of school. And we've been working with the school administration on trying to come up with some different approaches because I will admit it is crowded.
Yeah, yes, I was walking the halls too, so I definitely understand that for sure. You did discuss though that we were doing some type of space survey for the opening of school, that we will be able to do a space study or something like that.
Well, with the facilities master plan,
yes,
all of the facilities have been assessed, and I believe, and I apologize, I didn't know the date last night, and I forgot it again. So Jennifer, can you use the property meeting?
October 6th.
October 6th. Thank you. October 6th is when we are having that property meeting, and an update will be provided to the board on the initial assessment of our buildings.
Okay. All right. Also, as we know, on the first day of school, it was at the high school, it was very warm. So the next question is just asking, what else can we do basically with the excessive heat at the high school? We know we only have air conditioners in certain areas. So what is the plan for that?
So I will say this, it's not ideal. We all know that this is not something that started yesterday. We are, but this year we did provide fans, and I would say that that's not the ultimate answer. I am hopeful that the review of our facilities will lead us to a process by which we will be making some significant modifications to our buildings. And I'm very, very hopeful that our ESSER dollars will allow this school district to do that, because without those dollars, we will not be able to address it the way that it should be addressed. And I would just encourage individuals to please be a part of or tune into the property committee meeting, because there will be some steps and things that we, the administration and the board, will have to do in terms of outlining what is our plan of action for facilities. And that would include, and I don't want to minimize this, it is significant work that's going to need to be done. And that's not only for the facility itself, we're also looking at things like athletics. We're also looking at grade spans and things of that nature, the actual efficiency of the use of the building, etc.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yup. It's an audio question before that. Oh,
You might
okay.
wanna get-
Somebody, okay. Yes, could someone let Mr. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't see that.
You might want to ask other school board directors. any other questions.
Hello, did you guys mean to unmute me?
Oh, no.
We
Good
hear you.
evening.
Okay. Hi, how are you guys? Hopefully you're having a nice evening there. I just have 3 questions. I know hopefully some of you, I did email you some questions I was going to ask tonight. Hi, my name is Joe Martino. I'm the current William Penn Education Association president, as well as a Lansdowne resident. Some of the questions were answered. The 3 that I'm left with, I'll leave out or let out. So who specifically is responsible for the lack of technological readiness in the district at the start of the school year, specifically both the physical technology and the curricula delay? Was it vendors? Was it administration? What I'd like to know the specifics. The second question was, what kind of consequences are there for this lack of readiness? I know the staff and the students have been feeling these consequences, but who else is going to be accountable for that, other than the staff and the students that have been, the ones directly affected by this for the past few days? And then lastly, how will the school board support accountability and ensure an appropriate accelerated remediation plan is established and implemented? And just to add from something that was said today, to me, the talking about the clever, it seems like clever is kind of like a nice to have, like it seems like a nice to have, but having direct access to the curriculum at the beginning of the professional days, because we burned 8 of them now, and I don't believe we have another one for 4 straight weeks. So, when a nice to have supersedes a needs to have, I just feel like that's kind of problematic in my eyes. So why specifically again was that clever deadline missed? If we thought that we were going to hit it, I would just like to know, like, I understand we thought we were going to get there, so what were the actual roadblocks that didn't get us over the finish line? Thank you
Joe,
very much.
Thank you, Joe. I'll try to address some of those. So in reference to the integration of technology, which we're calling the clever, we were utilizing science, math, and ELA, and we had to integrate all 3 of those curriculums, if you will, with eSchool. And when I say we, it's a technological system. There's a lot of programming and background work that needs to be done to make sure that the systems effectively communicate. So that took longer than we expected. And, I guess at the end of the day, I'm the superintendent, so I guess the buck stops with me. But I will say this to you, I was not going to roll out something that was not working. So I would rather wait a day or 2 days and make sure that it's working effectively, rather than roll it out and it not work at all and cause more challenges and problems ahead of time. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the fact that access to curriculum was not there. The curriculum was available at the end of last year. All teachers had what we call demo accounts, and teachers were able to use and learn more about the curriculum during that time period. We also had additional sessions during the professional development time for teachers to learn more about the use of the actual tools. In terms of, I think you said, what other question did I miss? I apologize. Oh, the nice to have and the need to have. We are trying to move the district forward. So I don't necessarily look at one as being nice and one as being a need. I think we needed both of them because we could not effectively operate with brand new electronic curriculums and not have an integrated system. And so that's what we wanted to move forward with as a school district. I think I addressed each of your questions. If I did not, please tell me which one I still need to respond to.
I believe that you have addressed all three of his questions.
Okay.
The next question that's in the chat, I think you could answer that because you already answered that by stating that the buck stops with you. So the person said when were principals told and what were they told? I don't know if it was talking about the Chromebooks or not, but and then it says, are you saying that the confusion is on the principals? But I think you already just explained some of that, but if you want to elaborate.
Sure. At the end of last year, we talked about when we would collect Chromebooks. That was in June. There were dates that were published, and the expectation was that Chromebooks would come back to schools. In the event that they did not, we did provide all schools with a letter to send home to families that did not return Chromebooks. So the expectation was that we would be collecting Chromebooks throughout the summer. Some people are still returning the Chromebooks, and we're thankful for that. And so that was the process. And so we communicated that in June. We also talked about the new curriculum. I believe as early as maybe October, November, there was curriculum groups and teams that met. We spent plenty of time going over what curriculum we would recommend to the board. The curriculum was approved by the board. And then there was a process that we engaged in terms of sharing that information with teachers and then getting them access to that curriculum. The professional development occurred in the month of August. So, you know, again, our plan was to have everything ready. And in an ideal world, it would have been, everything would have been in place and it would have been in a box with a nice bow on it. But that didn't happen. But what we did do is we addressed where there were shortages, and we made sure that information was in place to support teaching and learning. Was it ideal? Probably not, but we did try to address the issue as best we could, given the information that we were aware of.
Okay, thank you for that. You can see there's a statement, so I think you could just that the teacher, Mr. Nowinski, just had. So I think you could answer that offline.
Okay.
We also have another request.
It is a hand raised. Yes. Okay, could you please let that person in? Thank you. Ms. Ryder, thank you.
Hi, this is Amanda Ryder. I'm a teacher at the high school and I wear a few other hats as well. It's more of a statement than a question. Our students really deserve to have Chromebooks on day one of school, as all staff were told they would. Teachers spent 7.5 of the 8 days of professional development before school started planning engaging and interactive lessons based on our students each having a Chromebook. Then it was dropped on us at the 11th hour that students will not have Chromebooks to start the year. I understand that some of these concerns have been addressed tonight. We look forward to hopefully having them in 4 or 5 days. But this left teachers feeling unprepared and scrambling to shift gears to start the year while still welcoming our students with excitement for the year. The fact that clearly people in tech and central office knew of the shortage and did not communicate it to staff on our first day back is really appalling. Instead, until tonight, we hadn't heard anything from anybody in charge taking ownership for this failure to prepare over the summer, and the principals are really left to relay the devastating news of how unprepared the district was to their staff. And the failure to have technology in place is not on our principals. They should not be set up to bear the brunt of the teachers' frustration and demoralization. We worked so hard as a district to get to one-to-one and to utilize technology to best reach all of our students, and we really can't let that slip away. Instead of focusing forward, we're stumbling backwards. Our students really deserve Chromebooks, and they deserve to be able to have all of the interactive lessons that we've prepared. There are hundreds of Chromebooks sitting in a classroom at Cypress that is being used for district storage. If they were purchased to replace missing or damaged Chromebooks, the time to use them is now. Teachers have offered to help inventory and assign them to make this happen as soon as possible. We don't need hundreds of Chromebooks sitting in unopened boxes. We need them in our students' hands now so that we can give them our best. They really deserve it. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Ms. Ryder. Yes, Dr. B. Coates, if you would like to respond.
Sure, and I know it wasn't a question, but since we're sharing information in this setting and in this format, I do want to make sure that I address the comments because a response was provided specifically to Ms. Ryder. We also clarified and shared information with our board and with others regarding why we have Chromebooks in storage at the high school on Cypress Street. And that's the only place this district has to store items. We do not have a warehouse where we can store materials. So they are stored in the Cypress Street building. We made sure that that storage space was available last year with the administration. And again, as I said earlier, I would not suggest that the administration or the board get into the business of just giving out Chromebooks. I think we have to be accountable for the Chromebooks that are given, make sure that we have an accounting of them, and then continue to provide Chromebooks accordingly. We have enough Chromebooks for students to have access. It may not be the ideal format initially, but by the end of this week, we will make sure that schools have the Chromebooks. And I would say that the larger concern is specifically at the high school.
Okay, thank you very much. We also, just for clarification, we have another comment and there's also a question. So the person said, my apologies if this seems repetitive, but given all the conflicting information we've gotten over the last 2 weeks, I feel the need to clarify. When you say all students have Chromebooks in the next 4 to 5 days, will this be in all classrooms? Currently, only English and math classrooms are being given carts to use during class. Will the rest of us have the ability to use them with our students sooner than the end of Q1, as we were told today?
I'm not sure who communicated the end of Q1. That did not come from my mouth or this administration. I believe that that is a school issue, and I believe that that's where that item needs to be addressed. What I said earlier was that all students will have access.
So thank you very much for clarifying that.
No problem.
The board of directs that's on Zoom, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you, did you have any comments? And I just asked Jen and Ms. Luella. So board of directs, if you have any questions or comments, I ask that you do either just raise your hand or get unmuted. We'll unmute you so you can make any comments. Does anyone, any board of direct have any comments or statements?
Yes, Wadia.
Wadia, thank you, Wadia, I can see you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Boykins. I just wanted to thank Dr. B. Coates for clarifying that issue earlier this week in your email. You did a great job clarifying about the Chromebooks. And I just want to import for, staff members that have concern for clarity. It sounds like, for me to understand, it sounds like there was some miscommunication on the building level of how things were being disseminated. And if I'm incorrect, please correct me. And again, I think we also have to have grace, which Joy has on the back of her screen today, that we are at the beginning of the year, we are in COVID. That has not changed. And sometimes things don't always get done at a faster pace, but I just want to make sure we are asking the questions of the right people. So if I am incorrect, again, please correct me, but it sounds like there might have been some miscommunication on the building level. So I just want to make sure, if we have these questions that we're addressing it to the correct people first and then bringing it to the board for us to make those necessary,
I agree. I agree, Ms. Ivory.
That's it. Thank you.
Any other board of direct have any questions or comments that they would like to make?
Ms. Valerie?
My comment at this point is along the lines of Wadia, Ms. Ivory, who expressed that there is a concern on what appears to be a building level. What I'm most concerned with at this point is if I'm understanding, so that's where I want to clarify, there is the accurate supply of Chromebooks necessary to provide to each student. There's a process that was in place that seems to have not been carried out efficiently, effectively. If I'm understanding and if I'm misunderstanding, I don't mind being corrected as well. At the building level, it seems to me that most of the concerns have been addressed at the high school level. So if that is inaccurate, please correct me if I'm wrong. And then lastly, we're supposed to be good stewards of the resources that we have as a district. We're not a rich district, and we need to be accountable for the Chromebooks. And so if we begin to distribute and there's not a process in place to appropriately account for our resources, then we too have failed. So I just am asking for that grace. That is, actually, that was Jennifer's speech, the first opening day. So I'm looking for that to be across the board. And if there is a concern, like it sounds to me over the emails that maybe there's some inappropriateness happening with the resources or the computers that were found and photographed in the Cypress classroom. What I want us to do is give us a chance to find out all the details before we're jumping to conclusions, please.
Any other board of directors at this time have any questions or comments? Okay, so with that being said, I just want to say in closing, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I didn't see another comment.
Mr. Nowinski has his
His
hand
hand
up,
up?
and then there's another comment.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's statement. Yeah, I'm not going
Okay.
that. Could you please unmute this,
Mr.
Mr. Nowinski, please? Yes, Mr. Nowinski, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Becoats, I would like to, if I may, press you for an answer on what was communicated to the principals about the Chromebooks and when that was communicated to the principals about the Chromebooks. We understand that they're stored in Cyprus. We get that. Our issue for most of us at the high school is that we expected up until last Friday that students would have Chromebooks, and the effort that was put into curriculum over the summer and lessons and the instructional planning guides it seems to be misplaced and misspent, given that that time could have been spent finding and developing and researching lessons that would be used, or that could be used rather, without the access to technology that, I apologize for calling you out, students do not have access at Cypress Street, because there is a sign up plan in place. So there will be no good way of knowing from week to week when students would have that access. So when could we possibly have been told that students would not have Chromebook access for several weeks, potentially months?
Mr. Nowinski, I will follow with you offline. Thank you very much.
Don't you think that other teachers would like to know that as well?
Mr. Nowinski, I will follow up with you offline. I did respond to an email that you sent earlier today, sir.
Okay, well, I appreciate your response. Unfortunately, I did not read my email between the end of the school day and now. So it's frustrating not to have those answers and to show up to school without having had the ability to prepare.
Thank you, Mr. Nowinski, for your comment. Are there any other hands raised to speak? Because for some reason I can't really see.
There are not.
Are there none? Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions? All right. So with that being said, I wanted to end stating that we do understand that, one, we are in the middle of a pandemic and we're trying to open our schools. We are trying to do it in the best, safest way possible. There are going to be issues. There are going to be problems. I'm pretty sure that everyone here watches the news and seeing some of the crazy things that occurred on the first day of school at other places and things of that nature. And the reason why I state that is that I can honestly say I feel like everybody in our school district, our teachers included, our administration, is really trying hard to work through this. And I do understand some people's patience. It seems like from the comments that are made are running out. And I just ask that you still remain patient and steadfast. Our students are doing it. We as a board are doing it. We are learning certain things as we go. Once again, I just want to state this. Our 9th grade academy started off with the 1-to-1. And in 9th grade academy, once it started in the 9th grade academy for 1-to-1, it was going on for about 4 years before we started to release it to everyone else. And in that time, we never had a process in place on return of Chromebooks. We never had a real set process in place. And our inventory, what I would say is what Dr. Bicos is really speaking on, is for us to understand what's in our district. And I do understand that people are very frustrated, and I understand it's part of our curriculum. And I'm just asking you to bear with us on this. And we are listening to your concerns. I answer every phone call. That's when someone sends me a phone, or someone calls me, someone emails me, I'm always there to respond and try to help the situation, as other school board directors as well. And I just ask that you continue, you can voice your complaint, pros and cons, but I just want you to know we are diligently working hard as possible to try to, making sure our school district runs as smooth as possible and also as safe as possible. And nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect. So I want to say, just hang in there with us as we go through this. And please remain positive, because we're all in this together. When we say 6 boroughs, 10 schools, we're serious when we say 6 boroughs, 10 schools, 1 district working together. So I just ask for everybody's patience in that. With that being said, I would like to end the meeting, and everyone have a great night.
Thank you.